Okay, so if everybody's sitting comfortably, we'll get going. So first of all, welcome everybody. Welcome to Wasserman Boxing. Great to see so many of you here. Hope you're all well. Unfortunately, the weather didn't cooperate with us today, so we can't be upstairs on the rooftop, but this is a splendid setting in itself. I'm Andy Clark, and next to me in our three-man boy band lineup are two gentlemen who need no introduction. Of course, Keller and Saul, the driving force behind this now not quite so new venture. And the reason that we're here today is to unveil the new stable of signings for Wasserman Boxing. These fighters will be out and in action very, very soon across a number of cards. Some of them you'll already be familiar with, some of the names you'll already know because they were released, the details are divulged in real time. Others you won't, because there are three new signings with us today who will be unveiled before too long. Chris Eubank Jnr. Will be joining us last but certainly not least. But before we get to the fighters, let's just have a quick chat, Keller and Nissa, about this brave new world really that has materialised over the last few months. So I'd be very interested to know, I'm sure everybody else would, how did this grand union between the Saul and promotional dynasty, I think that's probably the right word for it, and
terminology, but probably an accurate one,
and the global media empire that is Wasserman, how did it come about?
I think first of all I'd like to say give everyone a big welcome. It's so lovely to be sitting here and preaching our lovely sport and actually sitting not in front of a Zoom somewhere and seeing live journalists in the flesh again. Spoken to all of you during lockdowns and all the athletes here today. So the brave new world has begun. It began in March, formally and officially, but the talk started deep in the first lockdown. Foru and Dean Baker from Wasserman approached us. We had a round of meetings. Our vision was never really to sell the family business. It was always to expand it. We're probably the only promoters in the world that has grown a business truly globally, not working with one broadcaster, but going into territories and working it bottom up, going in, grafting. If I think about Denmark, Finland, Russia, making domestic deals in those countries, having your local teams in those countries, very different to just saying I'm going to go put a show on in the country and actually building a division in those countries. And I think we looked at it and said, we've come this far and now we want to take it to that next level. And that next level, if you look at Wasserman, outside of boxing, I mean, we can just say it again, I love saying these words, 100 Premier League players, 40 Premier League winners, 1,200 employees on planet Earth, and I don't know how many offices, I always lose track on that one, but it is such a power behind us that it was an offer that was just simply too good to refuse. And I think that it takes us to that next level. We sat here in March and we announced, and people said, whoa, and what an announcement. And for weeks later, we were still giving interviews on this announcement, and I'm like thinking, right, okay, we've announced, okay, that's fantastic. What are we doing now? And of course, there was always a master plan in it. I think the first chapter, you can see here today, the first 6 months. And by the way, we're just talking about the UK talent today. I'm not talking about Alvarez Breeders, who'll be boxing the World Boxing Super Series winner, the IBF World Champion, who's boxing next month in Latvia. Filip Hrgovic, who's going to be boxing the final eliminator for the heavyweight championship of the world later this year. So we are concentrating today very much on the UK side of operations, all the German talent we have. We're not going to talk too much about them today, but they've got big things planned in Germany coming up. Actually, a deal is just about to be signed there, which will allow us to promote 4 events in a very short space of time to really drive Germany back up. We all know Germany needs that world champion, but we are here today to talk about the UK market. And we signed Chris in January. I think January the 1st is actually on the contract, and it was a step into to some degree for both of us into the unknown. Although we worked with Chris during the World Boxing Super Series and had a fantastic time together, but it really launched already what was coming. And now you've seen the likes of the up and comers. You've seen you're going to see some more names that, let's say, have been on the top of Sky Sports or BT Sports bills before. You're going to see them announced today, and of course Eubank Jnr. And once again, Chapter 1, we are 6 months in. We're not even an event in the UK, so it's just about to get started.
And this, the UK market is, I mean, it's in a fascinating place at the minute, probably the most interesting period that I can remember over the last few years in terms of promotions, in terms of media, in terms of broadcast. There seems to be something announced, something going on almost every day. And as the saying goes, times of great change, at times of great opportunity, there's a space here, isn't there, that can be inhabited.
Good afternoon, everyone. Great to be here. Just like my brother said, it's great to see everyone back. Nice to be shaking hands with people again. Yeah, I mean, English boxing, I think it was the 2012 Olympics when AJ got the gold. I think since then, British boxing has been on an absolute high. You've got Anthony Joshua next week against Usyk, massive stadium show. I mean, if I look at it, before 2012, I don't think a stadium show would have been mentioned, let alone sort of become almost a regular occurrence since the man George Groves sold out Wembley Stadium, standing just over there. I think British boxing has become the pinnacle in the world. It's bigger than America now. It's bigger than everywhere, and we're just happy, having grown up in the UK, to be a part of it and to give it our best shot at doing some really great shows.
Okay, so let's meet some of the fighters. So first up, we will get up Chloe Watson, Hosea Stewart, if he's looking out in the back there somewhere. Brad as well. Brad Pauls, if you're around, and Martin Foru as well. So this is going to require a little bit of mic sharing. So Chloe, we'll start with you. And you're a very accomplished amateur, won a gold medal at the Youth Commonwealth Games, run that GB setup, got to an elite senior final in 2019. You've had a little bit of a break since then. How did this all happen for you?
Just the right opportunity at the right time, really. I always work hard, so I'm always in the gym. Like I said, last year I took a year out and it just worked out for me. I just feel like everything always works well, and I just go with it. And right now, I'm ready to turn pro, and I'm ready to show everyone like who Chloe Watson is.
And as well as having these guys behind you, you're training with Ricky Hatton as well up in Manchester, staying there during the week. You're making preparations at the moment. How's that relationship coming along?
Amazing, yeah. I'm just learning so much, and that's just what I set out to do. Like at the start of the year, I just wanted to learn, and that's what I'm doing.
An operation like yours has always got its tentacles everywhere in terms of looking for emerging talent, particularly from the amateurs. I see Tom at international competitions lurking left, right, and centre. So how did you hit upon Chloe as a fighter you wanted?
I mean, that's mostly my brother and Tom's role and the other network of agents we have. I'll just say something a little bit about Chloe. When I saw material land on my desk for Chloe, I've never met Chloe till today, and the female boxing is in a place which it's never been before, and we have a history going back to Cecilia Brækhus, who we took from a lady from Norway to become the unified champion of the world, her first world title.
Yeah, well, I've had it in my head for quite a while now that my next step was turning professional. When I had a meeting with these, and I heard about what Wasserman's doing for the future, their plans and endeavours, their track record speaks for itself with heavyweights. So, why not get on board? The people that got on board as well, all the other fighters, they're buzzing, everyone's hungry. So why not be a part of that journey, and I just want to start mine now.
And you've had some high-level sparring. You were regular sparring partner for Anthony Joshua ahead of his fight with Kubrat Pulev.
Yeah.
How did you find that?
Oh, it was brilliant, man. Good experience, you know, priceless experience. Good to be around AJ himself, everyone that he come. You know, you just take that experience on board and just add it to my own game.
So Nissa, how did you hit on Hosea? How did that come about?
I know Mick, Hosea's manager, very well, and he sent me some videos of him. I met him, said, "Wow, he's massive. Got to sign him." No. You know, he can fight. I think he'll be more than suited to the pro game, more than the amateur game. There's some guys that I wouldn't recommend to a pro straight away, and I think they can develop. I think Hosea will develop in the professionals, even quicker, even faster. He's a big puncher, and he's got a bright future.
Well, looking forward to seeing you in action before too long. And on to the end there, Martin. Welcome, Martin Foru. Based in London these days, boxing out of Holland. And I think you're the only one here, actually. You've already made your Wasserman debut because you boxed in Austria last Friday. How did it go? How was that?
And in Denmark. I mean, I fought twice on the Wasserman show, and it was great. Yeah.
So how did this relationship start? How do you know these two?
I don't even know. No, I was with Wasserman before. Yeah, before they came, and then they merged. Yeah.
So in terms of your boxing background, you're 4-0 as a pro. Did you box much as an amateur?
I had 26 amateur fights. Yeah. So I was born and raised in the Netherlands, where I fought maybe half my fights, so about 13, 14, and then when I came here, I boxed London ABAs, Nationals, Hurricane Box Club.
So what was it about Martin that a little while ago compared to some of the others that caught your attention?
Well, it's funny the way Martin answered it. I never met Martin until the weigh-in on Friday, standing in an Austrian town square in front of the scales. Said, "You know me?" I said, "Yeah, I know who you are." Yeah. And we introduced each other. So Martin is one of the existing Wasserman management clients that's come over to the stable. Look, the first time I saw him on Friday night in the ring, but he is, what people don't know, is a superstar in his own country, outside of boxing. So he was a contestant or the winner of Paradise Island. I don't know if that's the equivalent of Cowie or Love Island here. So in Denmark, I'm already saying, in Holland, he's already got that part to it. But after Friday night, I can tell you, he can certainly box as well. He's definitely something which we were talking about on Friday. One country out of all the many different countries we've promoted in, we've never promoted in Holland. Holland has always been a traditional K1 kickboxing MMA market, and he's someone that we believe is a man that can lead the quest to start doing some shows in Holland, which I think is a market that we'd love to be in. To be honest, there's not many great talents over the years that have come out of Holland. I can see Jeff really racking the brain there, thinking back the years, or Ron, but there are. We've signed a few over the years. Denivas, Nordin, fighting Nordin. But I'm going back 20 years. You know, there hasn't really been that progression in Dutch boxing, and Martin with his let's say out of the ring, sort of platform, is something that we're obviously looking at that market now, and it's something that it's a space to watch.
Well, it certainly all helps. Drawing up that publicity is an absolutely key part of being a pro fighter. So thanks very much. Thanks very much, you four. Thanks very much for sparing the time. We'll let you go.
Heavyweight's always at the buffet. It's the last man joining. So,
gentlemen, welcome. Great to see you all. Great to see you all here. Razor, So we first met about 3 years ago down at 12 by 3 in Paddington, and I remember coming away from it thinking I was pretty confident I would be hearing more about you. You were just one of those kind of characters. Your backstory's extraordinary. I encourage everybody to check it out. All members of the press, you need to ask them about it, because it's the adversity, the tragedy. It's harrowing stuff, and it didn't get particularly any easier when you moved from Iran to England. But here you are. And the first question for you really is: could you ever have imagined when you arrived in England? Could you ever have imagined when you were a young boy in Tehran that you would be in this room, in a room like this, at an event like this?
Yes, I always actually pictured this today that I'm gonna get here. It was all a dream. I did it really the hard way. I used to sleep on the street 4 years ago. I started boxing 4 years ago. Never boxed in my life. But I remember the first day I got in this country in Glasgow airport, and I came as an asylum seeker. When I got out of the airport, I said to myself, now I'm here and I'm free. No life in danger or anything like that. And I know myself, I know I work hard, I know what I'm capable of. I'm here to have it all. That's what I'm here. I don't want a bit, I want it all. Everyday hard work. I remember when we met in Paddington 3 years ago, I told you, I started boxing, I only 2-3 amateur fight, but can you help me introduce me to some people? I want to go find a coach, find the gym, I want to turn pro. He gave me some advice, but I knew I'll be here today. I picture it every day. Even when I go to my bed, I picture myself one day be a great champion. I sleep with it, I live with it, I breathe it every day. Never missed a day of training. And fortunately or unfortunately, I don't have a lot of amateur background. Only 10 amateur fight, 3 professional fight. But I'm developing every day, I'm learning, so I see a very bright future.
Well, you'll be boxing at super bantamweight. You were telling me you're 3-0, and it's such an interesting story, isn't it? When you hear it from Razor, and one thing that shines out from him is just the hunger.
Well, yeah, just before we get to Razor's story, I've got to give you the story of how we came upon Razor. This one I tell at dinner parties at the moment. So I've got a call, and I'm not going to say his name because he's a private gentleman, but let's put it this way: he's one of the richest men in the world, and he's a football club owner, and etc. etc. I've got a message, and I was in Ibiza at the time, and someone's messaged me. It wasn't night time in Ibiza, it was daytime. And I got this message: this guy wants a word with you about this boxer. So now we get approaches all the time from different parts of the world, but this one was I was like, whoa, that's interested to Google, do my research on it. He was doing the background check on Razor at the same time. I must admit, I hadn't heard of Razor at the time. I certainly heard of the guy who was approaching me, so I've got my assistant to set up a Zoom with the gentleman. And I said, look, if the guy's on the Zoom, I'll take the Zoom. So immediately come back, yes, he'll be on the Zoom anyway. So I'm in Manchester in the bubble for Junior's fight in May. Got it set up, it was 11 a.m. and I said, okay, I said, just send a reminder just to make sure that this guy is actually on this call. I'm there at 2 minutes to 11, and the first person on the call is this multi-billionaire. So I'm thinking, there's Razor next to him, and I'm thinking, right, okay, the combination here is quite interesting. That's quite an introduction, and in due course we will say who it is and whatever, but it was the way it came about was phenomenal, and it was only then that I sat down with Razor. I said, well, I'd like to meet with a person and actually hear these, because I mean, as journalists, you need to hear these stories. What you said is in a nutshell, a story that could fill a book now already, several books. It's fascinating, it's heartbreaking, but also an amazing story to tell. I mean, it really, unfortunately, it's not a long press day, or else we'll spend a couple of days on it, but it's a fascinating story. And, you know, I've seen now already the attraction he is. He's sold an absolute huge amount of tickets for October the 2nd. So the proof is in the pudding, Razor. Looking forward to see you on October 2nd.
No pressure.
But no pressure, no pressure.
All of these fighters will be boxing on October the 2nd, so we can look forward to seeing them on that bill at the SSE Arena then. So Linus, sat next to Razor, Linus Udofia, now former English middleweight champion, undefeated, 16-0. You vacated that title to move on to bigger and better things, and I believe that you're either just have been or about to be mandated for the British. It's been a while, obviously, since you boxed. You've been out of the ring for a good spell, and this is the perfect way, this move for you to get your career back going again.
Yeah, 100%. It's a fantastic platform. Wasserman, Sky Sports going together. It's a really good platform to springboard me onto, you know, to the domestic scene properly. I'm known, but not how I feel I should be. I think I should be a name that gets brought up with cash, the likes of Eubank, the Dignams, everyone else. You know, I feel like my name doesn't get brought up like it should, and this is the platform to make that statement.
Mr. Is Linus a good example of somebody who has already achieved a good amount and got to a really good level in his career without too much promotional backing, and you looked at him and you thought, imagine what he might be able to do with some real firepower, the likes of which you can provide?
Yeah, I mean, I think you've had 15 fights now. You know, you're known in the boxing industry. I think, you know, Steve Goodwin's done a great job by you, but I think this fight will be your coming out party. You're going to have a lot of people ringside. It's going to be a very entertaining fight, and you know, people like Felix Cash. You know, he's British champ at the moment. We have to see if he vacates, but if he doesn't, that'll make a great fight. It's been ordered. Yeah, but he's going to vacate. So what to do with him? Yeah, so. Yeah, so it just made me lose my place. Yeah, Linus Udofia, everyone. Big things coming.
Okay, so Harvey Horn next to Linus, and in a way you're kind of in a similar place because you're 8-0 as a flyweight now. You're WBO European champion. You're looking to kick on to that next level. You've not boxed for a long time either, as is the case with so many fighters. You did a lot as an amateur on that GB setup, boxing World Series boxing, numerous titles, a silver medal at the European Championships. From speaking to you earlier, I know you feel that now is the time when all of that really comes to fruition.
Yeah, I think you left that under 22 European champion as well. Don't worry, it's alright. No, so obviously, yeah, I haven't boxed in a while. I mean, like a lot of fighters, but I mean, it's exciting times. You've got Wasserman, a global brand, they're established in the sporting industry, paired up with two of the biggest promoters in Europe, the Saul's. So all that means now, with them two paired together, the marketing, the reputation, the experience, all that can mean for my career now is to the top. And I wouldn't be happy unless I was going to the top. That's my aim, that's what I'm focused on, and I think Wasserman, Wasserman Boxing, that's where we're going to go.
How pleased were you to get Harvey's signature, because he's got serious pedigree and credentials already?
Harvey is also, together with Martin, and it was an existing Wasserman client. We're delighted now to have him on October 2nd and promote him. Also a very popular fighter, and has that measuring stick in front of him of the domestic scene. And there's some tough fights out there, but we believe in him. That's the reason we're moving forward and full steam ahead. And he's someone who, if you look at his style as well, very exciting. Exciting weight, great domestic opponents. Once again, in the UK, you have that advantage of measuring sticks before you go and push on abroad. And And also a lot of the guys and girls you're going to see today, there will be boxing in the UK, but of course, when we need to, we will use our other events outside of the UK. As you saw at the weekend, we were promoting in Austria, we're going to Latvia next month, Germany, Norway still on the schedule this year. So especially for the developing fighters, yes, it's important to go out and box, at Wembley on October the 2nd, very nice. Big show coming up in December in the UK. But when you're building a fighter, and we've mostly in our careers always dealt with fighters coming straight from the amateurs and building them, you sometimes need fights in between. And those are sometimes out of contract fights. I mean, fights you have to provide the fighter, but you have to find space for them to box. The trainers in the room here, you see them all nodding hopefully, you need to test things in fights before you maybe do that in front of your own crowd. So we'll be using that as well as a little bit of a secret ingredient, and that will be something that you'll see as well.
Okay, so I'll probably be commentating on your fight on the 2nd, so that will not go. That mistake will never happen again. European Under-22 champion. I'll make sure that goes in. So on to the big man on the end there, Matty Harris, and yours is a really interesting story as well, because your name kind of started to circulate around gyms and reach people's ears not that long ago, really, and there were kind of stories about this guy who hadn't really had any amateur fights, but yet he was doing some really top level sparring, and no one really knew particularly where you kind of come from. There's one tremendous story about you, which is like something out of the 19th century bare knuckle days, where you and some others put some money in a pot and met in a field in Birmingham. It was like Peaky Blinders, and then all just went at it, and the winner took the lot home, and that's I believe that's what happened. So, explain yourself. Where have you come from, boxing wise?
Started boxing competitively 3 years ago, something like that, 4 years ago, I think. But on that occasion, yeah, it was obviously during lockdown. I like money, wanted to earn a bit. A couple of my friends had a bit of money, wanted to fight, and it was just a group of people, so yeah, got there, matched on the day, was about to get out, took money home. Let's do it.
This wasn't involving Wasserman Boxing. We edited that a little bit.
It wasn't our first event. It wasn't officially sanctioned in any way.
I'm not saying I wasn't there, but it wasn't involving. He got sparked out.
So Nissa, these kinds of signings are in some ways the most interesting ones, because this is pure word of mouth stuff, isn't it? When you start to hear about a fighter like this. So how did this happen from your end?
I mean, I think Matty is one of the worst kept secrets in boxing. Everyone's been talking about it for a long time. We met with Max McCracken, and deal. I had to have him, and I'm very, very pumped for his debut. And I think he's got the right attitude. He likes to fight, which always helps in boxing. But at the same time, he looks the part and he can box. And I think the heavyweights are booming at the moment everywhere. We've built heavyweights over the years. We've got great experience in building heavyweights, and we're going to continue to do so with Matty, Hosea, and the man who will be coming up here soon as well. Just delighted to have him on board.
Callum, just a quick one before these four leave us about that October the 2nd bill. It's great to get all of them. It's great to get all of them out, boxing, back in action, because they've all been out for a while. And of course, for Matty, it's a professional debut. So big night to look forward to.
Yeah, it's a great night. It's great to be working with Sky Sports, and it's going to be a fantastic co-promotion with Boxer that evening. They've got some good fights on as well, and it's a great all-round card. I think. Just going back to Matty for a second now, we've signed a lot of heavyweights over the years. Some work, some don't work, but he has there's something special about him. My brother wouldn't stop talking about him for a long period of time, which with Nissa he falls. He basically every day there's new boxes on the table, new boxes on the table. So I always give it a few days and see if that box is still on the table like 3 days later. And with both Hosea and Matty, it was certainly the case, and also the gentleman who will be joining us in a minute. But we go back, I mean, my first professional heavyweight champion was Alexander Povetkin in Asylum when I was 26, 27 years old, straight from the Olympics, and we built him into a world champion, but then obviously that night with Klitschko didn't quite go our way. Still blaming it on the referee to this day, but you know, whether it's the Klitschkos, Hay, Valoev, Povetkin, we've worked with a lot of heavyweight champions obviously in the last couple of decades, and you know, we're far off that Matty's sitting here and tomorrow will be heavyweight champion, but he's on a road with people, and so is Hosea, with people who have been there and done it. And that's something that we are excited for. You know, it's something when you begin that journey, it's not that we look at it and think, oh, we know what we're doing, we know which way we're going to push them, how we're going to match them. We've got Tom Dallas, I think one of the best matchmakers in the world. And a great team around that supporting it, and there we are very, very confident on all the people we've signed. It's not that we've just said sign everyone who's available. We've turned some down and we've looked at the ones that we want to focus on. We don't ever want to be a huge stable in the UK because we have other countries we work on as well. The UK will always remain a boutique. I say boutique, we're only at 15 fighters in 3 months, or 6 months, but it doesn't, don't think that this is going to continue over time. We will focus on a boutique bunch of fighters, and that's what we've always done in every market we've gone to, and we believe in quality over quantity, and that's what we're presenting here today.
Okay, so thanks gents. Stage here are Harlem Eubank, Josh Kelly, and Nathan Gorman. Gentlemen, great to see you. Welcome. Tough crowd. So this is a big day for all of you. This is a big day for all of you and for Wasserman Boxing. 3 well-known fighters who all carry a very, very good reputation within the sport. Harlem, we'll start with you. I saw you in the gym about 6 weeks ago. You were working hard, you were training hard. You hadn't boxed since just before Christmas when you had a really good win against Danny Darko. You were staying busy, staying ready, smile on your face as there always is, and you were, as you always have been, optimistic that something was coming, and something has come.
That's it. That's the way I've had to stay in this game. You know, I've come through the hard route, and for me, it's always about fulfilling my potential. So I know, you know, stay in the gym every day, and as the fights come, take them and show what I can do, and then keep working in the gym. So since December, you know, 3 days after my last fight, I've been in the gym, ready, improving daily, and ready for any opportunities that arise. And you know, it's been a year, so that's a year of progression. But I've been churning away. I haven't had the chance to get out and show, you know, improvements since the last one. But now the time's here, and I'm partnering with Wasserman and the Saul brothers, and I think this is the perfect combination to take my career to the next level. And I really believe that this is the right place to do that.
So what's the plan for Harlem then? Because he's got to a certain level, he's proven at a certain level. It would appear that there's definitely a lot more to come. How quickly are you hoping to try and move him?
I don't think we're in any race of time here. I mean, you know, he's in a good place in terms of training with Adam Booth, and you know, you can make a lot of surname, of course, in terms of brand, but at the end of the day, he is very unique. You know, like I said, Harlem is one of the most cheerful people in boxing. Always got a smile on his face till he gets in the ring. And he's in a weight class I, of course, know very well with the super lightweights. I've been going through the World Boxing Super Series and seen the best super lightweights in the world in front of me. And I've seen him down training. He's obviously not there yet, and you know, I'd be talking promoter rubbish if I was saying he was, but we believe in him. Adam believes in him, and he's someone that we think we can move at a pace. I'm not going to say quick, because quick doesn't work. There's no quick fixes in boxing. Quick fixes, they fall down tomorrow, you know. And that for me, it will be at a pace. And you know, I think there's some great fights to make at that weight. But once again, we'll move at our pace. But he's someone that 100% the second half of next year can be a headline.
And you're joined by your stablemate as well. The pair of you and Josh Kelly obviously train with Adam Booth down in Surrey. So Josh, for you, is this a case of you needed, or you felt you needed something a little bit more fresh, a bit more new in your career?
Yeah, I mean, Nissa and Kala, both absolutely great guys, and powerhouses in boxing. So, I mean, the move suited me personally down to T. So obviously, it's gonna refresh my career, a massive brand, a massive platform. I can't wait to get kicked off and sort of right the wrongs which went on, and get back on track.
Can we call it a comeback? I mean, how have things been? How have things been since the last fight? Because it's hard to take, isn't it? A first defeat is hard to take. There's always been a big spotlight on you. There's been a lot of expectation. There's been quite a lot of unfair criticism, I would say. How's life been since?
No, listen. I mean, fights before that, personal life hasn't been solid. So I just sort of got magnified in that fight, and obviously things happened. I took a good few months off. Probably was a bit too much, but the fact of the matter is, I saw the personal things that were going on in my life, which played out and affected that fight. And obviously, I was beaten on the night by a better fighter, but personal issues went on and did play a massive part in that. So I've just been sorting them out, and now I'm steady. I've steadied the ship, and I feel as though I'm back in the right headspace, the right place to be, and I'm ready to move on in December and sort of hopefully December anyways, so keep on.
I'd just say to that quickly, personal things, whatever. You just mentioned it before, and with Harlem and how quick, and you know, and you're always clever afterwards. You know, that's also clear in our sport. You're always clever when a certain match doesn't work out and whatever it is. But when you are, and I would argue together with probably Josh Boazzi, you are being painted as the future of British boxing by Sky at the time, and moving it to that level in your 12th or 13th fight, 12th fight. That's fast moving, yeah? That's quite a pace. I know you had a very successful amateur career, but that's fast pace. And that's something that sometimes it works, eh? Sometimes you roll that dice, and you know, anyone who's been around the sport long enough, sometimes you roll the dice, and they work, sometimes they don't. The talent is undeniable, because you know, Sky is a very solid team of experts, and you know, they recognise the talent, and that's why they set on that talent. Same with Boazzi at the time, and that talent is phenomenal, and we believe in that talent. And you know, you spent time with Josh. I mean, I did need a bit of help with the translator in the first couple of days, but we've got used to it now. He's got my dialect, and he's got his. You know, he's a fantastic guy, and you can see why. You know, he's a great boxer to promote. You know, he's going to have to step up and do his thing in the ring, and that's clear. But we mustn't forget what stage his career is at, because if you looked at it, you felt like if he won that fight, the next fight, it was going to be headlining the pay-per-view show, and that, you know, that's. Of course, there's always, you know, as a promoter, you've always got pressure to deliver. You've got a pressure to deliver the next superstar, etc., etc. And that can sometimes, and I've been there before myself, you know, had to rush someone a bit more through, and that, you know, that can sometimes come back to bite you at certain stages. And you know, I think that we won't lose the good parts, and the efforts that have been put in on bringing him. I mean, Josh Kelly is a British boxing, a big name. He's a big name that we're going to be bringing back bigger, badder than ever.
Well, we look forward to it. We very much look forward to it. And last but certainly not least, on the end, we've got Nathan Gorman, boxing at heavyweight from famous boxing stock. And I guess in a way you had a similar kind of experience to Josh in your career. You were put into a big fight that attracted an enormous amount of attention against Daniel Dubois, and you've had to rebuild from that. So how did this all start for you? How did this relationship come about for you with Wasserman?
Obviously, it started about a month ago, something like that. Obviously, my last fight was in March, the 27th, so it was about 5-6 months ago. And the Saul team, obviously, Wasserman, everyone got in contact with my management team. Obviously, we had a coffee, had a bite to eat, and it basically went from there. You know, I like what I saw, I like the brand Wasserman. I'm hearing very good things about them, and I fully believe, obviously, from what I've seen today, it's the first time I've been to the offices and stuff. It's an amazing setup, you know. As some of these lads will be, I've been around the block a bit, you know. I'm an experienced professional, and it's one of the best I've seen, I'll be totally honest with you. So I do believe the backing I've got, and, you know, the good matchmaking at the right time and stuff, I believe I'm going to go very far with everyone backing me.
And listen, you've been talking to pair of you about how, you know, you love a heavyweight, you've got good pedigree with moving heavyweights, and Nathan's another good example of a fighter who has already achieved a good amount. I think he's in line for a Commonwealth title shot before too long, maybe, but there's a lot more to come.
Yeah, I mean, I've been a long time admirer of Nathan. I actually had money on him to beat Daniel in that fight. Sorry. But you could tell he wasn't right going into the ring. And, you know, I'm just glad to have him on board, because I think there's a lot more Nathan Gorman, you know, still to come. He's only young. I think we need to develop him correctly. Right fights at the right time. Obviously, if the mad offers come in, and then we sit down as a team and decide. But, you know, there's Fabio Wardley out there, who I believe, you know, that's a great fight. I think it's a win for Nathan, but I'm sure he thinks differently. And there's a lot of good heavyweights domestically and around the world at the moment. But first and foremost is we keep this development stage going again, you know, and keep moving up the rankings.
Okay, well, great to see the three of you. Congratulations. Harlem Eubank, Josh Kelly, Nathan Gorman, the new Wasserman signings announced today. Hope to see you in action before too long, all three of you. And finally, we'll call up Chris Eubank Jnr. So, Chris, thanks for joining us. You've been part of this setup. You've been with Kalle and Issa for longer than most of the fighters who we've seen so far today. So, just give us the scoop, fill us in. What's it like working with these two?
I mean, obviously we have a great history. Me being in the World Boxing Super Series a couple of years back, and I loved it. Had a great experience, and yeah, we built a relationship from there. And now, obviously, moving into 2021, now with Sky Sports, Wasserman, it's just, you know, the path is we're on a great trajectory now. I think that we sorted everything out. We know where we want to move. And yeah, there's some big things coming.
I think it's fair to say throughout the course of your career, you've always, you know, you steer your own ship, don't you? You do what you feel is the right thing for you. You won't be told what to do by anybody, really. And it's about personalities a lot of the time, isn't it? As to who you decide to kind of, you know, hitch your wagon to, for want of a better expression. So, how fundamental were these two in terms of selling you this overall vision that they've got for Wasserman?
We just seem to have the same mindset, the same goals. You know, I remember when they first got in touch with us, and you know, they put the names and the route that they wanted to take me on, and it was exactly what I wanted. So you know, it was kind of a no-brainer. And now that we have the platform, it's on Sky Sports, it's just, you know, the sky's the limit. So I'm very excited.
Just to say that, I mean, we do go back a few years now, but the World Boxing Super Series, of course, was mapped out. I mean, you chose your first opponent. I remember Senior down in Monte Carlo, and I swore he got the wrong one when he was choosing, but it ended up being the right one. He knocked out Avni Yildirim in 2 or 3 rounds, and then you know, that was the beginning. But I think the difference has become also exactly what you said is what people see on the outside. The Junior's boxing mind from back then, although it was much more of a tournament set up and whatever, now we have conversations, and he's very firm in his mind, as he always has been, but he takes things on board, he takes a lot of things on board, and he listens to advice. So I think often the public perception is one of, that sort of cold and moving forward and only my way and whatever. But actually he takes a lot on board. He listens, he really listens, and he asks questions like someone who's, you'd expect to be a 60-year-old trainer. So he's he mustn't forget the family background. We always talk about the name of the family, but he's grown up in a house which has never not known boxing, which I can relate to, and he's never ever been in a family that hasn't been involved in boxing. So he has more boxing in his veins than 98% of professional boxers, and that is something that you can feel that he takes on board but learns from as well. It's not a one-way process. He does really open up and has his input on things. And I think some of the things when we make a move, we've also adapted things around, my input with your input, and then we sort of find a common ground. And the determination to reach the top on him is honestly one of the second to none of what I've seen. Don't forget the stage of his career where he's in a place where he's had big fights before, he knows those big fights are coming, and all he wants to do is fight and train. And that's a fantastic place to be as an athlete at this stage of his career. And people ask, what stage of the career is he actually at? Is he like coming up still? Is he there? He's in the prime now. This is a prime stage of his career. This is the time to take those opportunities, take them and deal with them and perform. And I'm not shadowing my doubt that this guy can do it at the very top level, because he's been there and done it.
Okay, let's play a little game then. Let's put that collaborative spirit to the test then, and see if you are on the same page. So I'll ask you first, Chris, what it is that you want to do in the next few months. You've got Sven Elby, of course, on October the 2nd. We saw you against Marcus Morrison in May, first fight under your now not so new trainer in Roy Jones. People have been talking about the next fight. I know it kind of breaks all boxing protocol to talk about the next fight, but they've been talking about Golovkin. You and Billy Joe Saunders had a bit of back and forth recently. Where do you want to go in terms of your next really big fight? And then we'll ask Nissa and see if you're on the same page.
That's the exciting thing about my position right now, is that there's so many big fights, there's so many big names. There's massive fights out there that don't even have to be for world titles, and they're all ready and waiting. So after this fight, not that I'm looking past them, 18-1, solid, rugged German fighter. We are looking for those big names, those title fights, all the big names that make sense and the public want to see. Obviously, Golovkin has been in my sights now for years. Is he fighting in December? Is he not? We don't know. But over the next 12 months, I don't see how that fight can't happen. It has to happen. There's too much demand, and who else is he going to fight? Who else is actually going to give him a fight, a proper fight that the fans want to see? There's so many names. There's big world titles. I think now I've been made mandatory for the WBA superior belt. So there's a big opportunity there to fight for that world title. You got guys like Liam Williams snaking his way around, trying to get involved. That's an exciting fight. You got Canelo Alvarez up at 168, which I would move up to take that fight. And again, who else is going to give a better fight at these weights? Who else is going to take it to him and not run and try and survive for 12 rounds, which is what I see every single one of these guys doing at the moment. Just, I don't want to get knocked out. Try and survive and get my payday and leave. Saunders, that rat, he's still calling my name even though he has no belt and no credibility in the sport anymore. Is that a fight I would take? Yes, there's a lot of history there, and you know, we have a score to settle. So, you know, the possibilities are endless. You know, it's just up to these two to put me on the right path and get me in the ring with these guys, and I'll do the rest.
I think he's mentioned every middleweight that I was about to mention there. So, I mean, I think stylistically, every single one of those fights that Chris has mentioned would be an absolute war. It would be, you know, but a couple of names there. Liam Williams, great fight. You know, big domestic dust up, but you know, Golovkin's still out there, meant to be fighting Murata. No one knows what's happening with that. Golovkin would be a massive name, I agree. And of course, you know, Billy Joe. There's no love lost there. And you know, there's obviously Canelo at 168. But yeah, I mean, there's an exhaustive amount of options out there, and I think all those fights would be brilliant, great spectacles, great fights, and also wars. Yeah, I think you know, we've got a lot of options out there.
I think also, you know, you mentioned about stylistically, but you know, you won't see Chris step back in a fight. You know, he's always stepping forward. I remember the first time I don't think it was the first time, but one of the first times I saw in a big fight was against Arthur Abraham, and it was towards the end of Arthur's career. But you know, one thing with fighting, the bang never goes, and Arthur, he could do one thing, even at the end, it was bang. And I remember it was the 11th round, he caught me flush. I mean, flush. It wasn't a great defensive moment, you know? But I'm standing there thinking,
can't swim and not get wet.
I'm standing there, it wasn't one of your better defensive moments, but he hit you flush, and I thought instantly, he's gone. He's got to. I've seen Arthur do this 100 times, losing a fight and then, you know, pull one out. And he's had sort of a haggler moment of he's sort of gone on this and just gone and thrown a combination back at him. So, you know, with Junior, you know, you're going to get a war, as he's shown so often. And you know, so stylistically, absolutely, there's not I don't think there's a bad fight really to make out there. You know, I mean, one other name that you didn't mention was potentially Andrade is one that I like. It's a good fight. Williams and Saunders, of course, have that domestic thing, and you know, we can talk about world titles. There's a big discussion at the moment on the world titles and what world titles are world titles. I think we all know that that's something that's being addressed at the moment. It should be addressed. But there are certain fights that don't need world titles at a domestic level, which, you know, those are exciting fights as well. And, you know, this is, I know it's a sports business, it's probably the hardest of sports business, but it is the entertainment business. And that's what we're there to provide as well. And, you know, I think that there's so many good fights out there. And once again, we're on a great platform, Sky with Chris, that's fantastic, so very exciting.
Okay, thanks very much. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, chaps. That